All right, welcome everyone. Once again, my name is Monica, and this is Live Lab Week 6, Systems Thinking, Climate Justice, and Reconsidering Development. As always, I would love to invite everyone to start with a short centering exercise. Today we'll have a little bit of, we'll have a possibility to learn how to embody systems thinking. So let's start with the centering exercise that will prepare us for that. So once again, inviting everyone to put everything on one side just for a moment and take a nice deep breath in. Take a nice deep breath in. Taking a nice deep breath in, all the way down into your lower belly and even extending even deeper and lower. Allowing your awareness to drop down into your hips, down into your legs, down to the soles of your feet and into the earth. Becoming aware of all of the feelings and the sensations in your body. As if you could open your inner ears and listen with your inner ears. And become aware of all the feelings and the sensations in your body. And with each breath, coming home to your deeper, wider presence, to the center of awareness, where you can access your creativity, your strength, your courage, your wisdom, your talents, your empathy, your care, your loving kindness, and your commitment, your stand, your power. Create the future. And with each breath, letting yourself be open and expand to receptivity, curiosity, into connection, expanding into the connection with me and other people in this group, as we are part of this alive, dynamic system and process of life. And together in this connection to ourselves and other people and life itself, becoming this living ecosystem. Together we step forward, not only to create the future of our lives, but future of our world. And together, how good it is to know that together we have everything to contribute to the greater good. And together we simply say yes, and so it is, so it shall be. Deep breath in, deep breath out, receiving and giving, sharing, remembering this incredible concept of giving and receiving, the balance, right? Sustainable development. How interesting. So welcome everyone. Yeah, I would like to see your faces and just have a feeling how you are feeling after the recent deep dives about communication and about climate justice. Please give me just a few keywords in the chat so I can sense you. Like inspiring or inspired or still searching for inspiration, right? It's like we are getting present, we are getting ready to see it all, right? Empowered, good. Bandwidth issues, bandwidth, yeah. I tried to, okay, good. Deep breathing vision, but it didn't work. Okay, thank you for naming. Connected, no solution is perfect. There will always be no winners and losers, right? We are opening up to there's like inner development muscle that is called holding a complexity. I think we are learning how to hold a complexity for sure, and today we'll be doing that. But let's start with the agenda. Let's start with the agenda. So we will learn what we are going to cover today. Okay. Give me thumbs up if you can see everything, if you can hear me. Yeah, it's loading, right? Loading. Okay, good. You see it now, right? Okay, Hippos, Global Hippos Group 3. So, agenda for today. We'll have a moment, just a moment, to have you reflected on the assignment 3, whether you are able to, have you been able to connect to the track that you are on, right? What's the most important thing for you right now? Are you here to learn or to lead or act or create, right? So connecting to your own intuition. Where's the energy leading you? After that, we will have a moment to actually summarize our journey, because we are in the middle of our journey here today. And after that, we will have a recap of our recent classes using systems thinking lenses and also incorporating climate justice lenses. After that, we'll have a bio break, screen break, and we'll have a discussion on development. What does it mean, development? We will be learning once again how to really redefine, how to develop a new, more informed perspective on what development, what evolution actually is, if we want to respect planetary boundaries and thrive, right? If we want to create, if we want to thrive and flourish in the flourishing world. And yeah, and after that, we will have, as always, a few information about the week, about the upcoming week, what to expect. We will learn an exciting. I will share exciting news about mentorship, and we'll also offer a link with Meet course survey, so you can share your reflections on what is it that you need. What is it that you need? Okay. Yeah. So first of all, let's have a moment. I want to really ask you to reflect for a moment on the assignment 3. Right? If you could describe your clarity on the track that you want to belong, the track that you are on. You could describe it as a weather. Please post in the chat. Is it a foggy weather or it's a clear, sunny day with blue sky? Just for all of us to learn where you are right now for a moment. Oh, to see where you are right now. Do you have clarity or not? Or is the sky getting more clearer? Partly cloudy, yeah, little fog, sun breaking through slowly, sunny. Okay, good. There is some sun, all right. Partly, okay. So I hope that, after by the end of this session, you will get even more clarity. Okay. But I wanted just to really open up to us to see that, we are all on this journey. We are evolving and learning together where we are, what's our job, what's mine to do on this journey, right? So don't feel isolated or feel bad that you are still experiencing the fog. All right. Okay, I just wanted to hear that. So, having said that, let's have a short recap on what is it that we've learned. What is it we've learned in the last few weeks? So first of all, right, as you remember, I've been offering you lots of information on climate impacts, right? In the first few weeks, we've learned about the foundations of climate change. We've been learning on how climate change will impact us. We have learned that actually 1 degree, half a degree, or even 1/10 of a degree actually matters. So each little part of warming will be impacting us in different ways, in different people in different ways. Therefore, we need to remember that the sooner we stop emissions, the lower the impacts, right? So this is opening up a big question. Okay, what do we do? What's mine to do? What are the solutions, right? We've also learned that there is no one solution, there is no one way, but probably the first step is to start to talk, right? So last week we have also learned that, first of all, yes, we need to start discovering, informing ourselves, and we need to talk about this because many people are having, or most of us are actually experiencing challenges in facing the truth. And this is why we need more and more emotionally safe spaces to convey generative conversations, right? To face difficult truths, but also face them with a generative mindset. So having said that, right, I hope you like the deep dive on communication. I hope some of you participated. Last week also we've learned about mental models of climate change, right? That will help us to start finding our ways, perceiving ways of how to find solution for fighting climate change in our context. And I think I remember Tarun mentioned something very important. There is no solution, or Tarun, I think, very courageously stated that I'm not sure if I know how world works. And it was very, very liberating statement too, because the truth is that actually nobody knows, right? There's just simply many, many solutions that work for different contexts. And there are also some solutions that work for me, but may not work for you, right? Each of us is has a very unique personality and different skills. And each of us actually will have different answer to the big global question, right? And having said that, right, today we'll be harvesting on what we've learned over the last few weeks, the communication, mental models. Today we'll dive a little bit deeper into the idea of systemic lenses and multi-solving that incorporates climate justice. I see that Malik is entering the room constantly. Malik, are you okay? It seems like there are many devices. You're joining with the many different devices. I hope you'll be, yeah. I guess your internet is not stable, right? So having said that, right, today, the important thing that we'll learn how to embody the system lenses perspective. And from that perspective, we will be going deeper into climate justice, and then we'll discover what it means, development, sustainable development, inner development. How can we flourish and allow also planet to flourish at the same time, okay? And just for you, that's what's coming up, but we don't need to talk about this now, but there will be many, many opportunities to dive into additional deeper aspects of the solutions. But today we'll have a moment to recap on what it means to embody systems lenses, how to be in this, how to live the perspective using the systems lenses. So some of you already mentioned, right, the idea of system lenses already last week. I wonder if someone would like to actually repeat, because I'm like talking a lot, but I feel that maybe it would be nice to just hear from you. Somebody can remind us what it means, actually, these mental models of systems thinking. Somebody can gives us an idea. For example, using the donut example or another example. Who would like to share?
I can explain the donut.
Okay.
It's the idea that we can all of people's needs can be met within the without with never mind. I can't.
Let me
Giving needs within the boundaries of Earth, like without using too much.
Yeah. Yeah, right. So actually we can just simply read it. But before that, I would like to even expand, right? Because donut is a little bit specific. So systems lenses, I can offer you a little bit of perspective. So systems lenses, the big foundation of the systems lenses is this notion that we belong to a bigger structure or of a system of interdependencies. We are connected, right? We probably, all of us probably heard, from some spiritual teachers, we all are one. We all are one. But in fact, scientists are getting to this concept too. We are realizing, wow, we are all so intrinsically connected in so many different ways. And we are using this concept in order to map these interdependencies. So when we are mapping and becoming aware of these interdependencies, we can start sensing the levers, right? The levers, the leverage points that will be creating positive domino effect, right? And there are many different ways we can approach systems thinking. I wanted really to remind us about these two, like the donut one, right? So I will just read it, right? Dr. Kate Raworth, she called herself a renegade economist who really approached the economy. She wants to create a completely new paradigm of economy that is very holistic, right? That is inviting us to shift from me perspective into we as a planet. No, it's very holistic, right? So what she did is mostly the big foundation of this is that the donut or the system that we belong to consists of two concentric rings, a social foundation to ensure that no one is left falling short on life's essentials, and an ecological ceiling to ensure that humanity does not collectively overshoot the planetary boundaries that protect Earth's life supporting systems. And there is another boundary, right? So there are two boundaries that are just simply representing the limits of the planet and limits of the humanity. And between these limits, we can thrive, right? So between these limits, we and the humanity and the planet can thrive, right? Between these two sets of boundaries lies a donut-shaped space that is both ecologically safe and socially just, a space in which humanity and the planet can thrive, okay? And another concept, I wonder if any of you heard about this one, multi-solving, that is offered by Dr. Elizabeth Savini. Someone can present the idea. Have you heard about this? That is also using the systemic lenses. I'm gonna also
I can attempt.
Go for it. Try.
Okay,
Please.
okay. I like the example that they gave, and you have it here too around the home design and just basically thinking about when you're solving for one thing, how it's solving for other things, versus just staying focused on one piece of climate change that we need to solve for. So the example here of you know, energy efficient upgrades, how that leads to improved health, well-paying jobs, lower utility costs, etc.
Yeah, right. So the idea of this multi-solving is that actually everything impacts everything. And the main important part of the multi-solving, the method is really to improve equity and justice, right? So the community, the resilience, the community well-being and resilience is at the center. All right. And having said that, right, I wanted once again to offer this idea of what it means systems thinking. So I'm inviting everyone to embody this mindset of systems thinking, because very often we are thinking about systems thinking, but we are not being in this mindset of systems thinking. And very often the systems thinkers, the teachers, are talking about this. Actually, system thinking, it's not about system thinking, it's about systems being, right? It's about being and belonging to the system. So it's not only about being aware of the interdependencies and the dynamics, right, of all the dimensions that we are all co-creating together, but really being and perceiving them consciously, right? So yes, here we have this this lovely picture of what it means being in the system, right? Or designing the system, right? It's about perceiving the balancing act of receiving energy and giving the energy, right? That we are part of the huge, incredible feedback loop, right? Sometimes it is reinforced, it has reinforcing feedbacks or not reinforcing feedbacks, but the big foundation is of deep interdependencies, right? So I would love to actually invite you to a very, very short practice. I'm also a practitioner of systems thinking, and I love the practices that are offered by the MIT ULab and Presencing Institute that offered a program that is called Leading from the Emerging Future. That's the method that is that helps that is designed to create to change systems based on our awareness and belongingness to the systems. So it's not about thinking, it's actually about becoming the system. So in the next few minutes, I will be inviting you to two breakout sessions. But before that, right, so you can practice what it means, systems thinking. But before that, I would like to give you a mindset to step into that, right? So you will have the lenses of the systems thinking, okay? Just for 1 minute, okay? Are you in? Let's do this. It's very, very simple. So I would love to invite everyone just to take a nice deep breath in, all the way down, coming back to your body, maybe even putting your hand on your heart for a moment. And just inviting you to become aware of your breath for a moment. Relaxing into the rhythm of your breathing for a moment. And inviting you to become aware of the inhale that you are taking and the exhale. Right? We are receiving and giving. Now inviting everyone to feel into this energy that you are receiving and giving every single day at home, right? Just sense into that flow of energy within the systems that you belong to, right? Just sensing into that flow of energy and the feedbacks along the day, whatever you are doing. Right? And now even expanding your awareness to your community. Right? How much you are receiving, how much you are giving. Right? We'll like sense into this energy flow. Is there some energy stuck? Right? Just bringing awareness to, am I receiving enough energy or I'm giving too much energy? Am I feeling too much extracted? Or am I somehow extracting? Right? Just becoming simply reflecting on this, right? And expanding your awareness even wider. So you can see yourself belonging to the planet. Right? And feeling, being curious. Am I receiving a lot? Am I giving a lot? How I belong to this flow of energy in this world? I'm just being curious. That's interesting, right? So like let's let's be curious. And now I'm inviting everyone to imagine that you are coming back to your community. Imagine you are elected mayor of your town or city, and have committed to halving your city's transport emissions 2030. Okay. So inviting everyone now to ponder about which of the following measures would you prioritize? Okay, which have the highest potential for leverage, right? Which can also solve for equity and justice, which are good solutions for equity and justice, right? So again, like which would be feasible politically or economically, right? So like sense into these solutions from perspective of the energy flowing and the feedbacks, right? Would it be a good idea in your community? How would be impacting me and others, right? How it would serve the whole community, right? So inviting you to take a screenshot or just take a picture of that so you have that. And just discuss, choose your 2 favorites and 2 least favorite. Based on your knowledge or sometimes based on your intuition. Where do you sense, right? Where do you sense a potential, right? There is a method of co-sensing the leverage points. Sometimes you just sense the dynamics in the community. So you sense where actually it would make sense to apply these solutions. Okay? So take a picture once again. Did you take a picture? All right, I will post in the chat. I'm gonna stop sharing. And yeah, I think, any questions? No, you're all good, right? So I will create breakout rooms for us. How many of us, can someone tell me how many of us are in the room?
16.
Thanks so much. All right. Okay, so how about 3 breakout rooms or 4 breakout rooms? Let's say maybe 4 breakout rooms. Yeah. Yeah, let's do this. So I'm creating the rooms and have fun and enjoy and choose 2 favorite ones and 2 least favorite, okay? All right, opening all rooms. Enjoy. See you soon. Welcome everyone. So how was it? We have your nominations. So I'd love to hear I would like to hear from you and all. You can also post in the chat 2 favorites and 2 least favorite options. And I would love to hear at least from 2 people at least about your favorites and the least favorite. Who would like to try? I had so
I can
much to
go.
talk about. Yeah, go for it, please.
Okay. So we didn't all necessarily suggest similar things. I think we leaned on improvements to existing infrastructure in our areas versus like entirely new infrastructure. For example, Julie in New York was talking about improvements to the public transportation system that already exists. In LA, I didn't suggest anything surrounding public transportation because that would be so much infrastructure to build to get us to where we need to be. So my suggestion was more around like prioritizing remote work where people don't have to drive. I think where we landed is that free or subsidized public transportation is kind of a multi-solve for a lot of the issues surrounding equity and justice that are problematic with some of these other suggestions. I think remote work is still a good idea. However, I do think that has some issues when it comes to equity and justice because not every different type of job can be done remote. And actually, it benefits people who maybe have like more white collar jobs, for example. So we really like free public transportation or subsidizing that. And then just better public transport as well. Like I think some of the problems that Julie outlined with the subway in New York is like obviously it's not necessarily as safe as it could be all the time. And for example, there's a lot of stairs typically and not elevators in every station. And so for example, with people with kids, like a lot of times they don't take the subway because they can't get strollers and things like that down. So I think those 2 are really good. We didn't love expensive parking. I think that exacerbates issues of wealth inequality and equity and justice. Because like in New York, for example, like it won't discourage people from driving. Rich people will just get the parking spots, which is not a good solve. And then what was another one we didn't like? Probably congestion charge too. Like anything that just involves people paying for stuff they're not supposed to do. Like in most big cities, rich people will just pay for it and we'll still have the same problems. So that's kind of where we landed.
Thanks so much. So it feels right, like let's rethink things or be more or diversify things rather than just making people pay.
Right.
All right. Right. So let's step into the process of solutioning. Who else had a similar or different idea? What's coming up? I see, Francis, neither better public transport overall. What else? What else? And I'm glad that there were already some equity considerations, right? If we take the equity considerations into that conversation. Amira.
My group didn't actually talk about this. We focused on public transportation mostly and like EV infrastructure, but something that I think about often is carpooling. Like I don't have access to a car in New York City, but I know there are tons of people who have cars who are a lot of times going in the same direction. Like last time I was in France, my family was telling me that there's like a carpooling app basically where you like put generally where you're coming from and where you're going, and people can like opt in to just pick you up and like maybe drop you off from like downtown Paris to downtown, some other city. Yeah, blah blah car. And then there's also this in New York, the George Washington Bridge is from New York into Manhattan. And if you go across the bridge with 3 people, you get a lower toll fee than if you have just like 1 or 2 people. And there's this like known but unknown thing where you can like go and stand on the passenger pickup side on the New Jersey side and like get into a stranger's car and ride with them across the bridge, and they get a smaller toll and you get a free ride across the bridge. And I think it's also a great like social experiment to just like trust that people will drop you off, and it's safe.
Right. So like we are expanding a perspective towards, right, like can we find a solution and being in this together, right? Right. Like, do we need to buy Tesla, right? Do we need to buy Tesla? And by the way, who can afford Tesla and who don't, right? Some ideas. What else is Francis?
Can I just start at the point to the blah blah car, because I think it's very interesting, and I think this is one of the examples where it's very hard to measure what has been the impact, because I think like in Italy we use that a lot, and we used to use it even more when it was cheaper. But I think many people did not take trains because of blah blah car. So I would be very curious of knowing, like, did it incentivize the use of the car in the end, and disincentivize the use of the train? I guess it's very hard to measure, right? I don't know.
Yeah, it's complicated. Yeah, it's becoming more complex, right? And by the way, like, who is using train frequently? Are we able to use trains frequently, right? I see who was that? Sumitra, who else? Right, like Kiru. Yeah. So people in the EU, right? Like we have really awesome trains, right? Selen, I think you were also, right? Like, how about US? How about US? Did you use trains in the US? Like I was in the US. I bought a car in the end. I admit. Right? Interesting, right? And at the same time, I'm going to Brussels, from Paris to Brussels, important event. I paid 100 euros one way and 70 euros second way for TGV, right? Like, can we afford that? Can everyone afford that, right? So like I'm opening up this this perspective. Someone wants here not convinced about your trains. Yeah. Kim, trains in Austin not only have specific routes, so most people don't take them. Someone wants to join. Someone wants to have a last.
Yeah, I can go. I think we didn't converge on top 2 and bottom 2. Tarun, please jump in. But I think we spoke a lot about cycling and walking, and the 15-minute city as the top 2, especially because I think cycling and walking is in general very equitable. creating infrastructure for that. Like you said, in many ways, yeah, why do people need to buy a car in order to, get around the city? And the second thing around the 15-minute city was the need for long distance transportation goes down because of the shorter distances. So you can actually have multiple pockets, or it's like things are spread around the city more evenly, so that everybody is not more than 15 minutes away from school or hospital or things like that. So in the end, it affects. Of course, we think it reduces traffic and the need for cars within the city, and it makes generally life more pleasant. And of course, we also spoke about banning cars from the center, but we were not convinced if that was a great strategy. But yeah, I mean, we didn't have a lot of negatives to discuss on the bottom two, but that was essentially what we talked about. So cycling, 15-minute city, and maybe banning cars in the center.
Maybe banning cars in the center. Yeah, it's a bit, right. So like again, opening up the equity lenses. I remember this incredible example of so-called yellow vests in France, where suddenly I think Macron wanted to create much higher taxes on those who are using diesel. Well, for environmental reasons, but who are the people who are using diesel, right? Those who are saving, though not the rich ones, right? The people who are usually in the constantly in the car, but these are the people that can't afford having a better solutions, right? So, are these solutions are equitable, right? Yeah. Amira, to incentivize the TGV in Morocco when it first started, they gave free rides, right? It was a big collaboration with France, right? And there was a big conversation. Who is actually going to use this TGV? Like, right? Do you think the Moroccans or French tourists, right? Maybe in the pessimism in me. Amira recently told me about their apprehensions about 15-minute city because where its social unrest starts there. There is the possibility of being enclosed or trapped there. Yeah, another perspective. All right, so we are getting closer. Tarun, you want to share? Tarun, is it something that that brings the equity perspective?
No, I'll keep quiet.
If you
It
do
was
it,
something
do it in 30
that's-
seconds, but like do it super concise.
Yeah, I
Right,
think
yeah.
I think it just makes such a big difference how old the city is and where in its city is in its own developmental journey. Like a city like London, which has had public transport for a century, it's a very different proposition to a city like Bombay, which is now trying to build one. I think that makes such a big difference in how you can use some of these solutions to begin with.
Yeah, exactly. Thanks so much, right? So we really need to become very, very local and then become very diverse, connected to the people and to the communities. Okay, and now I would like to expand our perspective towards even global perspective. Let's think global climate justice. Okay, so I want to offer us a very, very brief, in a nutshell, perspective on what global climate justice can be, what it can be perceived, how it can be perceived, right? Probably with Kamal last week, you've learned that justice is central to climate negotiations, right? There are four important considerations, right? Do you remember these 4 points? What does it mean, climate justice, right? It's fairness, burden, benefits, influence, right? Fairness. Which countries are historically responsible for climate change? Someone knows? Quick. If someone has an idea, please just give the popcorn solution.
The United States and the European Union.
Yeah, exactly. And now burden, who will suffer the most from climate change? More or less, global south, global north, right? Global south, right? Right, we've learned that the 50% that is least contributing to the problem will be receiving the burdens. Benefits, who stands to gain from new carbon markets, the proliferation of renewables and so on? What do you think? Who will be gaining from all of this? Are these communities or private companies, right? Someone has an idea or example? Who will be gaining? Who might be gaining, right? Who stands to gain from new carbon markets, right? So I very quickly want to offer an example. During this COP28, Kenya was raising an issue that, yes, they are having so many investments, mostly solar power investments, but they are not community oriented. They are private companies, and they are not even companies that are owned by Kenya, right? So these are investments that are making money, but they are they are gaining and sending these gains back to global north, right? So another idea. And influence, which countries dominate international climate negotiations? What do you think? Quick idea.
Rich countries, developed countries.
Right. Another, right? Have you heard about this situation at COP that actually I think Samoan Islands, the island nations actually haven't been able to reach this the final negotiations on time somehow. Second thing, there is also a situation, an event that during writing the final report, IPCC report, the final statements, right? The report was sealed after Global South and national island nations left, right? So the final say was not the say when everyone was at the table. No, so like opening up again, right? Let's see this idea, right? Fairness, burden, benefits, influence. So now the question to you, right? Let's have a space for discussion. I just wanted to give you this kind of 4 perspectives. What stood out for you, from the climate justice workshop or from everything that you've learned, right? What's important for you when you connect also to your community or the place that you belong? What's important from these perspectives, 4 perspectives? Just to harvest for a moment. Kiro, go for it.
During her talk, Dr. Kamal asked a very important question, which is, can we solve climate change without climate justice? Or rather, basically, it was a trigger to ask the question, will the means be worth the end if in the process of solving climate change, we choose not to solve for climate justice? And I can't say I know the answer to it. I have complicated feelings around it. Days when I'm very pragmatic, I feel like we should put aside justice for another day and solve the most pressing problem at hand. But then when you read case studies on how we've gotten where we've gotten and why, it feels like the end is not worth the means. And so if we're not solving it equitably, should we be solving it at all, or will we even have solved it? So no answer, just saying that was the biggest takeaway for me around justice, which is the means worth the end?
Yeah, big question. Yeah, I have to jump to, okay, yeah. Anyone? Right, and another perspective, right? Have you heard about this per capita emissions, right? Do you know what per capita emissions is? This is the concept of that each country actually, that every person in the world should have more or less similar share of emissions. So this means that actually each country's population should be proportionate to their emissions. No, this would be actually kind of fair way of seeing things, right? And at the same time, right, what do we know? All low-income groups emit usually much less than their population's fair share. All countries in the high-income group emit more than their population's fair share, especially US, EU, but EU is complicated. What else? The US emits more than 3 times its population fair share. India emits significantly less than its share. In China, it's significantly more, right? So do you agree that any single country, irrespective of its share of global emissions, should be allowed to increase its greenhouse emissions? Big question to you, right? Big question to you. Selan, I see Selan wanted to share something.
Hi. It's not a question, it's more like a thought that worries me. Like the countries that have emitted the most are some kind of examples for the ones that are considered underdeveloped. So like the countries that are underdeveloped aim to become like the European Union and the US. This is like the problem that to me is very hard to face, because like then the world is going to emit much more, because that's the objective of the countries that are developing, actually. So yeah, I don't know, this is very difficult.
Yeah, I'm curious, right? Like, for example, what do you think, right? Like India is such a big problem right now. I mean, like, obviously we know that they don't have that much cumulative emissions, but they are emitting right now, but they want to rise because they are developing countries, right? Should we say no to India, right? Like, what's your thought? No, it's just like we have no answers here. We are just speaking up, right? We are sharing.
I think I think for a country like that to not grow would basically mean millions still staying in extreme poverty. And that's the opposite of, I guess, what climate justice is trying to get to. But I think for a country like that at this stage to grow in the same way that countries grew in the past would be worse. So it now is like that sweet time where all the growth that you're trying to pursue can be, if it has a sustainable foundation to it, can lead to much better outcomes for the generations to come. But if you use the same ingredients, i.e., for example, if you commission 20 coal plants now, that's probably not the kind of growth you want to be chasing, because the consequences of that will be significantly worse. But if you invest that little bit extra to electrify your grid more today, then I think you're looking at a very different kind of growth while still helping your country develop to a better standard. But I can see why people would be like, why people would be very, I guess it just depends on how it's, if say a developed country says to any developing country, do not emit, I can see why their reaction would be impulsively negative, because it's sort of like, well, why should I always stay in this situation?
Right. So the big question, right? Thanks so much, Tarun. Thanks so much, right? So look, how we are gonna develop all together, right? How we are gonna develop all together, right? That's the big question, while still thinking about the curbing the emissions curve and still having the equity considerations, right? How we can flourish all together. So inviting everyone to take a deep breath. Let's have 5 minutes of screen break, and I will see you soon again. 6:10. See ya. Bye-bye. Okay, so let's continue. Just before we continue, right? Like I wanted to have a recap, right? So we came to this idea, okay, how can we address climate and equity crisis at the same time? And I think I made a mistake by saying that how we want to curb the emissions curve. We don't want to curb the emissions curve. We want to become net zero, no? Remember that. We want to curb the temperature, the global warming curve, but we want to become net zero, right? Let's remember about that. Okay, and now having said that, have you heard about global about the loss and damage, loss and damage finance facility or loss and damage fund, right? I just wanted to ask if anyone heard about this, right? So it's a relatively new invention, I think in COP27 in Glasgow, right? That was created based on the notion that actually the nations that are creating the problem need to actually pay for the damage that they are causing to the mostly to the global south, right? It was a big issue in the very beginning, but right now there is actually a big win. It becomes operationalized since COP28. We won't have time to discuss it now, but let's remember about that. There will be another, I think, class 9 or class 12 about the finance. So we'll learn about this more. We are all here back, right? So I'm bringing us all to this space of, okay, climate and equity at the same time. Can we solve it? Can we solve it? So to solve it, I would like to bring us into this notion of what development is, right? Taryn mentioned, like, how can we develop? How can we become, how undeveloped or developing countries can be invested or supported so they develop while they also will be, let's say, reducing their emissions, or they will be contributing to the global net zero, right? There's a big question. So everyone would like to invite everyone, would love to invite everyone to think about what it means for you development. What does it mean? SDGs, Sustainable Development Goals, right? What does it mean, development for us, right? Up till now, we've been thinking about technology, right? Like development, like technology. Let's buy ourselves iPhone. Let's have a laptop, right? What actually means development? Inviting everyone to come either on audio or just post in the chat. Like the first thing, the keyword that comes to your mind when you think about development. For me, development usually means building new houses and words when I'm thinking about development. But at the same time, you're realizing, gosh, development means our human evolution as well, right? So let's expand this topic here. Natalie, please. Furthering growth, but it's more complicated than that. Molly, thank you. Well-being, yeah.
Yeah, for me, it's something simple, of course, but in a system, it's complex. But I think for me, the core development is allowing people, citizens, and every living being to live and develop themselves without having issues outside to block them from it. So I see that in those countries, developing countries, what really blocks people from growing, developing, living well, living a good life. It's because of it's not they don't receive the support, and the environment is not well prepared to allow them to do this. So of course it's a complex system, but for me the core is basically that.
Yeah, so it feels like what you're speaking to, I sense, is about access to the resources, foundations of safety, right? Physical safety.
Yeah, like emotional, physical conditions. For people to live their life with a good mind, with a good body. Because outside of that, it depends on themselves.
Yeah, and we're speaking about community resilience, right? How can we be prepared? I think you were speaking into this preparedness. Yeah. Thank you so much. Jack.
Yeah, I really resonated with the Sarvodaya Shramadana approach. This is kind of like very aligned with my own personal philosophy of like development being defined largely by just like a conscious awakening from humanity collectively, and it's like a kind of core part of what like evolution means to me. I also really appreciate the idea of like small community level independent governance is like one of the cornerstones or like a North Star for what development should mean for the larger world. So yeah, not a super distinct point. I just wanted to say that I thought that was extremely cool and love the module on that.
Right. So it feels like I want to somehow to harvest that, right? So it feels like the whole philosophy, right? There is a whole philosophy that brings everyone together into this space of more community way sharing, right? Like I'm just trying to feel like what is it that really resonates with you? I'm inviting everyone also to look at these 4 examples of models of how things can be, right? New systems. What is it? Why does it resonate with you, Jack? And why does it resonate with others' ideas, right? Somebody would like to share? Someone likes maybe Green Deal or donut economy, or maybe the same, so the Shamadan movement. What are your ways of seeing? Someone would like to share? Like I see the Shamadan movement is very much influenced by the cultural tradition, right? Of holistic cultural tradition. Then donut economy actually brings us from me into we the planet and our planetary boundaries. Costa Rica, for example, is talking about this well-being that incorporates the concept of well-being of nature and the forests, right? We, the forests too, right? The forests are part of us as well, right? So, and Green New Deal that actually also puts equity central to climate action. I don't want you to get into the details, which is like inviting everyone to feel into that, right? Like how can we perceive the development, right? Like, let's go beyond the technology. Like, we know that there is a technology. What else? What's needed, right? I want to share this story very briefly, right? Like 2 or 3 years ago, there was a very important UN assembly when one person after another and another was actually stating this fact that we are realizing that actually we have global resources, we have technology, we have money, we have finance to reach SDGs. But now the problem is people, how we are going to find solutions, how we are going to mobilize people to find these solutions, to work, collaborate together. Awesome. What do you think about this, right? What's coming up?
Can you repeat the question?
Right. So like the question would be, how do you perceive development, right? Humanity needs to develop, right? Like even Taran mentioned, right? Like India needs to develop. But now how we are going to do that if we want to if we want to become net zero, right? How we want to evolve together as humanity. How we are going to do that.
I thought the donut economics was an interesting framing of it, like in the video, the bank video that she made, talking about how like if this is the standard of what development is, then really there's no country in the world that's developed. Like if this is the standard that we're expecting of people, and like this is what the 21st century version of development will be, is getting to this. So I thought that was great, like awesome, something to strive for. And then with Costa Rica, like they don't have a military, and so they were able to, and they restructured all their land ownership. And so like there's not power in a few people's hands, like redistributing that ownership and then being able to distribute the money that would have been in the military to all the other like education and development and stuff. Like just that being able to restructure basically society, but still being able to function in like the capitalist world and like still be able to like operate in the system, I found really interesting. I also really want to know why Costa Rica was given aid instead of the American government getting involved in coups there. Like I'm super curious as to like why Nicaragua and El Salvador and all the bordering countries were messed with, and then like what was special about Costa Rica that they decided to like let them be the safe space and give them money for it. Like
I'm gonna address it just in a moment, don't worry. But yeah, right, like you pointed, you really nailed this, right? Like if the countries, developed countries are actually the developed countries that we call developed right now are still very much gaining their all the benefits based on very extractive mindset and their history, are they really developed? No, so once again, right, like opening up, like what really means being developed in the 21st century? How do you want to be developed? How do you want to, if you want to be proud citizen of the planet Earth and ask planet Earth, how we want to develop? What would it be? Right, like the technology, yeah, okay, yeah, beyond, let's go, right, let's rise up, let's challenge ourselves. Sanan.
Probably we should maybe restart thinking of like countries as more also like self-efficient. Like we don't have to go pick, for example, resources that we don't have from the other part of the world or from other continents. Like I think each country should like focus on like their own resources and how to exploit them at their best so that they can grow within some like more fixed boundaries, if this makes sense.
Yeah, how can we be developed nations, developed human beings, right? Any other idea?
So I had an idea because it was just something that occurred to me when we were talking about this, which is given that language and meaning are very interconnected, it would be interesting for such a diverse group like Teradu to just take the word development and try to find the closest word in our local language and see what if there is even a close word, because I'm trying to think of one and I just can't think of one. It's closer to nutrition. But it'll be interesting to see how the meaning changes depending on the language, or rather using language as a vehicle to explore different meanings for development.
Thank you. Right, because the language actually very often is an expression of our mindset. So just very briefly to close this, to wrap up this conversation, and also address the Amira's points regarding Costa Rica, right? So here's the follow-up of this story, right? At the UN Assembly, when people were just so frustrated, like, yes, we are kind of developed, we are all developing, we have resources to develop, we still need humans to be somehow developed. And this sparked an idea, and the same, fast forward next year, there was an idea to hire the same company from Sweden, as always, with the great ideas, to develop another framework. We have SDG framework, yes, we all know Sustainable Development Goals, and we don't know how to get there. So somebody asked, okay, now we need a new framework. We need in the inner development goals. Now we need to set up a framework on how humans need to develop to become community, to learn how to sense into their values, into how to respect the culture, into how to collaborate, how to respect each other, how to develop empathy to myself and to others, and how to become courageous to step up and keep trying, right? And so on and so forth. So that's how we have SDGs, Sustainable Development Goals, and I think for the last 2 years, now we have also inner development goals that are offering a guideline or a North Star for humans, how to develop from the inside out and learn all of these transformational leadership skills to reach the sustainable development. And Costa Rica actually was the first nation that endorsed both SDGs and IDGs. And actually they're doing incredible work to help people and nations to develop from the inside out, sustainability from the inside out. So long story short, that's what happened. I wanted really to share about this because I'm very passionate about this movement as well. Thank you. Now I would love to invite you to just click this link. By the way, so if someone is already on this slide, can you just copy the link, access it here, and post it in the chat? Techie people, please do this and help me. So just yeah, oh, perfect, and just post it in the chat so you have it. Click on this, so you will have your link. So you'll be already in the survey that you will complete later. But I want to make sure that you will just click on this. You have the access, and you will complete it. Okay. So this is the mid-course survey. It's very important because it will inform us how to support you better. So once again, thank you so much, right? This is a beautiful conversation. I really want to salute you and give you big kudos because that's how we learn to communicate. That's how we learn to become leaders and facilitators of generative conversations in our communities. We need to go through this journey by ourselves, learn how to reflect, to know also how others will be reflecting or how others may be perceiving and what their blockages will be, right? Today we are going through the journey to become leaders for others after that. Okay, so thank you once again. High five to all of you. This week, please remember about class 11, class 12, and there will be also Energy 101. You will be also, you will have opportunity to join workshop En-ROADS. You can always access the recording, but if you have opportunity, please join live. It's a great opportunity. There will be always deep dive, co-working session as well. Right, En-ROADS, once again, inviting you to participate in person if possible. Also, from now on, the mentorship program is open. So please remember to schedule start scheduling one-on-one meetings, and you can also please remember about completing your profile. So actually you have your own awareness about where you are, and we have the awareness where you are. And here there is also on this slide, there are a few guidelines for you to access how to really make most out of this mentorship. And yeah, I think this would be it. I want to make sure that you will find many other slides that will inform you about the mental models, about the climate justice considerations. So you have the access to all of the resources. I feel that we covered today most of the things. I'm very grateful for all of that. Please remember to complete the survey. And I think that's it from me right now. Wow, and we are on time. Amazing, for the first time. That's a progress for me too. I would like to say thank you to all of you. And if you have any questions, please, you are very welcome to stay or ask. Otherwise, I will see you next week. Thank you.